Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway. I'm the host of the Resilient Mother podcast, and I started it because of my own journey to resilience. I've done everything I can to gather resources, true stories, and inspiration, and now I'm bringing that to you. And I have a new co-host with me.
So I'm Catherine Tyson Soil, and mothers, we are creating the future. So Tiffany, you and I were on this train together, and I'm very excited about bringing amazing women's stories, mothers, help and resources and excitement, and just learning from you and learning from me and learning from all of us, just how to be resilient, how to take care of ourselves, how to take care of our children, because as we say on the Resilient Mother podcast,
happy mothers, happy children, happy homes is the goal. And that's Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. And this one today, we're going to continue the conversation around resistance versus resilience. Really what we're talking about is the beginning of your journey of change. That moment that was kind of like a reality check and something had to change. And with this subject, we're going to talk about you are loved. We're going to explore things about self-love as a mom, fully accepting yourself, letting your kids feel that, just the power that that can bring into your life to really elevate you and allow you to be the resilient mother that you want to be. So I have Jacqueline and Amy with me today. So we got full house. This is going to be so fun. Ladies, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about you and what you do.
My name is Jacqueline, and I am the initial founder of youareloved.store, and I had created it because during the pandemic there was just a lot of hurt and pain in the world, and wanted to create something to bring love and kindness back, and so started that. And one of the things since I was a child, I always had to just make sure that I told my parents before we hung up the phone that you are loved, right? Or I love you. And that's gone on to my friends. So my friends, and I've trained them well to say it back. So anyways, Amy, I've known her for 30 something years. So, Amy.
Yeah, we grew up together. So Jackie started this in 2020, and she was kind of going in a direction, and then she decided one day, we were talking, and she's like, I would love to bring you on. And I was like, oh, good, because I have a lot of ideas. So I came on, and I was like, I am obsessed with planners. Can we make a planner? Can we do that? So we made all kinds of stuff, but it's been a fun journey. And Jackie, I thank God for her, because she's been picking up the back end of things that I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm just creative. I don't know. So Jackie's been doing a lot of the footwork for us. And I'm very thankful.
I'm with you, Amy. I'm the creative ideas person trying to do it all. I need a Jacqueline, it sounds like.
I'm a crazy mom. Awesome. I don't know. You fix it. I got soccer practice. I don't know.
I love when people come together like that and really create a collaboration. There's really power in community and in numbers, and that's even true with moms. And that's something we kind of miss out on a little bit today. We don't have the quilting circles or the groups that get together. Maybe play dates, maybe there's groups in some ways. So now we get that opportunity in places and spaces like this online. We get to create it. We get to go find it. We get to go support it. And I love to hear when people take that initiative and do that. I'm wondering, what is your guys' version, definition? I'm going to do that again because I'm going to edit that. So I'm curious what your definition of resilience is.
So I would say resilience is not giving up.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree. I have a child who's, I always call him my feral child, because he is a handful, and I adopted him. So he's comes with things, and it's been very challenging and very, it's been keeping, my dog is growling at something. It's been keeping me very busy. Just trying to just keep him on the straight and narrow, and keep him not just give in to like doctors and just, find the healthiest way to teach him how to balance and calm himself. So I've been taking a lot of beating up on my, like me being beat up for, things. And I'm just trying to figure it out and get him on the right path. And, it's a lot. And that I think is me being resilient to, the trials and tribulations of, the way the world is, and just trying to keep him good.
Yeah. I think resilience, the power of it can come from love. I feel like love conquers all.
Yeah.
And when some people think about resilience, they define it as this like push, make it happen, no matter what. And I was listening to you and I'm just thinking about my teenager who just like, we love our kids. But I have one that like has a lot of anger and I get all the anger. And it really took an older, wiser mother of experience to point out to me that's because I'm the safe space, because she knows I'll still love her. And that completely flipped it around for me. And also it just, reminded me I'm the parent in some ways. And so I'm supposed to have better emotional regulation. I'm supposed to be able to take it. But really, if I come from a place of love, if I show my intention in any conversation that I have with my kids, it always goes better. Instead of trying to resist their need for independence, their need to discover themselves, their need to have their own opinion, I need to not resist them as they change and our relationship changes as they evolve and grow. I still get to love them, but I get to love them differently. And that's kind of the beauty, is if I can embrace each stage of life. Of course, we love the little babies, although we're totally sleep deprived. And then we have the busy toddlers who, I have a little boy now. Boys are different, and he's a 2020 baby. He's So I feel like sometimes I'm trying to keep that kid alive, right? But then all three of them are totally different. And I'm glad somebody told me that all kids are different, or I think I was doing something wrong. But my love is the same, and that power to love expands. And I think that's what helps me be resilient, is in those tough times, I remember who's counting on me, and what is that source of strength that's going to keep me going? Well, it's my love for them. But I also have that love for myself. So part of what you guys have with that came up for me just reading what you're about, You Are Loved, was realizing that I have to fully love myself first before I can truly love anybody else, before I can truly even express love in the way that is healthy, that is wholesome. And I didn't really experience that growing up. We were told we were loved. We said, I love you. We still say I love you at the end of phone conversations, but I don't know that I always truly feel it, because it's not the healthiest relationships. It's extremely dysfunctional. There's a lot of manipulation. There's narcissism. There's always a catch. There's always strings attached. There's always, whether they mean to or not, that there's always some consequence if you don't do it the black and white way that they want to do it. And so I think love comes in a lot of different forms, but for it to be resilient love, it's got to come from this pure place of your intentions. But you have to have that within yourself first, or you can't give it, right?
For sure.
Yes,
I agree. And motherhood is no joke sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like you're their punching bag, like you said, you're their safe space. So it's like, with my son, I've noticed he's like holds it all in all day at school, and then when he comes home, he's like, bleh, and it's like I get that, and because I'm his everything, and I'm his go-to, and I'm the one, and it all comes to me, and it's that balance of like learning, like, don't join in their chaos, bring them to your calm, and it's hard to, when you're at your wit's end and you've had a bad day, and then you're their punching bag, and it's like, just gotta take a deep breath and like, take a step back and realize like they're only this age. Like my son is 9, so he's only 9. He's only been here for 9 years on this earth, and to know how to regulate and know how to handle each situation that comes on, like a kid bullying him, or he had a bad day at school, or, you know, that to them is like their entire world, and it's everything they know. And it's, you know, there's a whole world outside that they know nothing about, you know, so they think these things are huge things, and they are to them.
Yeah.
And it's,
I love how you're talking about meeting them where they're at, like just loving
Yeah.
them where they're at in the process of figuring out who they are.
100%. I'm a very meet you where you are kind of person.
And do you think it's your life experience that got you that way? Because I don't know that everyone's gifted with that. Sometimes I think it takes time.
I think I've always been that way, but then I've had, you know, some tragic things happen in my life. I was ejected out of a car when I was 18. So after that happened, I mean, I knew before this, but after that happened, I started to really understand that this could be the last time I see somebody. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody, and that was something that I had to, like, a trauma that I had to go through and learn how to release. But I still hold it. Like Jackie was saying, she tells her parents she loves them every time she gets off the phone. And, you know, I'm very much that way. Like, when you leave somebody, leave them good, leave them better, you know? And because I was that way, my nephew passed away, and I always made sure, no matter how mad he made me, I always, like, explained to him why I was upset. And I told him I loved him, and I'm sorry for lashing out at you, but this is why I was upset. And, you know, I don't have any regrets with how I always left him, because I always left him like it was going to be the last time, you know? And so because I had that, where I knew how quickly my life flashed before me, I understand how quickly life just passes us by, you know, and how precious everybody is.
How about you, Jacqueline? What brings you to have such a tender heart to want everyone to feel loved?
You know, I don't know what, like, I'm assuming it had to have been God that kind of, like, put that in me as a child. And to have that thing where, like, I just had to make sure, because I just never knew. But I went through, like, all of us go through, like, stuff, right? Whether, and as a, you know, child, whatever, I went through, like, a lot of trauma and dysfunctional relationships with my parents and stuff. And I just, outside of, like, just going to church and, like, you know, just having the Lord in my life and stuff like that. I don't know. I dealt with, so with a lot of the dysfunction and stuff like that, I dealt with a lot of, like, anger and stuff in my 20s and everything. And then I would be that, like, type of person that would just either completely shut down, and, like, when you have certain triggers, like, I would just push people away and just put up a block and be, like, kind of like, just hard, you know? And that was, like, the one area of myself that I never liked. I never liked that, because then I would just feel bad about it afterwards. And I would feel convicted, right? And so went through a lot of therapy and just alone time with the Lord and stuff like that to work on that part of the area. But it's because I have that, I think also is probably what triggers the other stuff, is where I need to have the people I know around me know that that I love them. But I'm also, God gave me the gift, I believe, of edification. And so it's like, when I see other people winning, I just always edify them and want them to know how amazing they are and how wonderful they are. And yeah, so I just am like, because we reap what we sow, but that's not the reason why. It's just, I just want them to know, especially because I know with all the struggles I go through, and with building businesses and just different things, of just not feeling enough and not feeling like I'm going to be able to accomplish, you know, what it is that I'm striving for. And So I just want to make sure that other people know that they can. So yeah.
Well, with resistance and resilience, like for this subject being like in January that we're doing this, it's kind of the beginning of the journey in a lot of ways. This is where I want to introduce the idea of there may be something that's not quite right in your life, or you've hit rock bottom, or there's some moment in your life that's pivotally changed you and shifted you. And now you need to step up in your resilience. And there's a metaphor I really like to talk about when it comes to like courage and resilience. And I'm from Montana. So I heard this somewhere, and they said Montana and Buffalo, and they got my attention because I'm like, yeah, I know about that. I grew up there. And they were sharing this story that Buffalo don't like storms. They don't like the rain, but they, run together. They'll run off cliffs together. Like they do everything as a mass, right? But something interesting that they do is that they've learned that instead of running away from the storm, if they run right through it, they'll get through it faster. So when a storm comes, they just hit it head on. And I kind of feel like that's what resistance versus resilience is. You can be trying to run away from the storm all you want. At some point, it's going to catch up with you. And one of the things is the body doesn't lie. So if you're stuffing it in, if you're taking it in, at some point, you're going to have to face it. Or at some point, God's going to give you something to make you grow in your life. We're not here to just have a holiday. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. And we're often thrown something we never saw coming. And then we can resist that instead of embrace that there's something to learn here. There's some way to grow. There's something I'm meant to do. And I find motherhood has been the most rewarding and hardest experience of my life. And it came in a way I never expected. Grew up Christian thinking I'd get married, I'd stay married. Yeah, no, nothing like that at all. So now I'm a single mom, divorced single mom with 3 kids, big age gap, figuring it out, just graduated from college. Like, I feel like, okay, God, what are we doing? Yeah, I joke that after my divorce, I was like, okay, Jesus, take the wheel. But then he went off-road ramping, and now we're like all over the place. And I'm like, wait, what are we doing? Where are we going? Where's the path? Where's the route? I don't understand. And so I'm trying to figure out how to face the storm. So for me, that's the resistance versus resilience. What is going to move me forward? What is going to help me to face those storms head on so that I can be the good example to my children, so I can let them see that anything is possible with God, but also anything is possible when you're willing to do the work. And for me, that started a journey of inner work. And I found resilience came out of the other side of that. What are things that have helped you to strengthen yourself and to be more resilient?
Amy?
So I'm actually going through it right now, going through that storm right now. I've had a tragic loss. I've had a lot of loss, but losing my nephew at 24 years old was a real I've lost all my grandparents, I've lost best friends, and losing a child who was your first, like, he was my first nephew, my parents' first grandchild, my sister's first kid. And it was just to lose him at 24, it was so traumatic. And it was just so, there's a lot of grief that comes with that, and a lot of anger and sadness and all the things that you think would come up when you lose a child like that. And because of that, it's kind of been a storm within a storm. It seems like my family kind of just fell apart, and and then it caused me, because we fell apart the way that it did, it caused me to look inward, and it caused me to realize that there are generational curses, and there are things that need it ends here, and that major loss has made me look inward and say, I'm going to stop it here, and I'm going to change things and give a better path and teach my child this better way, and not keep bringing in the same, like, discipline routines and the same, just way of life and way of thinking. And I make sure I tell my child all the time, I'm so proud of you, like when he does anything big. We've started I started writing even little notes on his napkin in his lunchbox. And one day I didn't do it, and I didn't think he was paying attention to it. And in my head, I'm like, oh, he's probably like embarrassed by it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he told me the other day, because I didn't do it, and he goes, Mom, I look forward to that. I even show my teacher. And I was like, oh, you do? You know, so it's like, and I didn't get that growing up. You know, I didn't have.
And it's so little, and it's so doable. It's the little
Right.
things.
The little things, you know, and it's like my parents did the best they could, you know, and I can't look back and say, oh, I had a terrible childhood, because I didn't, you know, but then there were things that I'm like, I didn't get told that they were proud of me, you know, and I was like, you know, certain things that I'm like, I didn't, like, my parents didn't go out of their way to like make sure I was in sports and get me there and, you know, do all these things. And I'm going to change that. I'm going to make sure this child is involved and does all these things and has what I didn't have, you know? So it because of that loss and because of the way my family fell apart, it caused me to actually stand up for myself, where before I would just like, you know, let somebody treat me a certain way, and I would just kind of let it roll off my back and just like, you know, that's whatever.
Well, it's what's normal, you know.
I still am very like understanding when somebody comes at me. I'm like, well, hurt people. I get it. It's not right, you know, but I still I've learned to look inward and have more self-respect and more stand up for myself, and stand up for my child. So that's where I'm at.
Well, I'm so proud of you as a fellow chain breaker over here. It's not an easy role to be in the family, and it can be very isolating, but it's worth it, because we know that the next generation is going to be better, and that it stops with us. When I started doing the inner work, this whole healing your inner child generational thing, I'm like, what is all of this? But it's absolutely a part of the process. And I'm finding it's universal, that when you start digging into that place, there's more than just you that you're carrying, and it's really letting go of what's not you and you weren't meant to carry. That stops it for the next generation. And it takes a powerhouse. It takes a resilient mother to do that. So I love to hear that you're doing that work for your child.
Yeah. And I have Jackie reminding me all the time, you're a great mom, you're a great human. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
If a mom cares, that says a lot. So.
For sure.
So one of the biggest resilient changes for me was about 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm going to come from a perspective as a child, right, to her parents. My mom had a stroke about 6 years ago, and then she had her second stroke a year later, and she survived both of them by the grace of God. But she is fully disabled now. And during that time, like, I was working full time here in Georgia, and my mom was down in Florida. And then, so my family, like, my parents are divorced, but like my dad's side, his half brother had, they were wanting to move back from Port St. Lucie to Fort Lauderdale, and they were looking for a cost-effective place to live. And I was like, okay, well, you can live here. They wanted to rent the house, and I was like, okay, but part of it, my aunt's a great caretaker, is, just be there for my mom and stuff like that. And at that time, my mom had just had her first stroke, so she was still pretty functional and stuff. And then, and during that time, the house was completely messy and dirty. And Amy and I spent like a week deep cleaning it. It took a week. Like, her brother, who was living in his room, had piles, because he was like in the early 70s, but he became a hoarder and had piles of like bags of cans and hot sauce bags.
I've been in one of those houses.
I'm laughing because what we had to go through to clean that out was
it was a lot.
I helped a friend do that for some relatives. I'd never experienced anything like that before. It was a real education.
Yeah. And my mom's dog was just really old and had, and I had to put the dog down because it wasn't able to hold its bowels. And it was really bad. So anyways, just going through all that, and with, my family, and then just going through the challenges of like trying to figure out how to manage all this and how to make sure my mom has the proper care, how to just work the right type of job that's going to allow me to be flexible,
Mm.
and really just through that, and then just through learning how to have boundaries. That's one of the things that I love now, actually, is healthy boundaries, and that I've had to be able to create with my family, because they knew that at that time I was in like a desperate situation. So I felt like, they may not have thought they were taking advantage of it, but sometimes I felt like they were. And then I also were times where I was being ungrateful, and I should have been, instead of focusing on that and the problems, I should have just been grateful that they're there to take care of my mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I had always promised my mom, I was like, and I think I initially said it like I was joking around with her, but I kept my word, and I was like, Mom, I'll never put you in a nursing home. Don't worry, and
Aw.
I'm an only child for her. And by the grace of God, I mean, I thank the Lord that she was not, in a nursing home during 2020,
Right.
because I don't know that she would have made it.
Yeah.
And so she's been able to be home. So yeah, so the resilience of going through transitions in life and transitions of being able to how to manage stuff with this family that I was really disconnected from, because we hadn't really communicated a lot since I was a kid, and learning them and them learning me as an adult, right? Not as this child.
Yeah, that they knew.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I didn't really think about that until just now. And yeah, and then just being able to take care of my mom. And the crazy thing is like when my mom had her first stroke and she was in the hospital and in the a recovery facility, and she had said, I didn't think you would come back to help. I was like, oh my gosh, because I couldn't wait to get out of Florida. Like I, can't stand it down there. And so, and I was the type of kid that would call my parents once every few weeks. I just was like in my own little world and stuff. But there was times where like every time on New Year's when the clock would turn midnight, I would want to make sure I was on the phone with my mom. There's just like those moments, and I'd always go down for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. That was just like a regular thing. But yeah, so just really just pushing through that stuff, and I couldn't give up. I had to continue to figure this out and go through it. There was a lot of crying, and there was a lot of just existing, and just going through the process of no emotions, and just holding all that in just to go through. One of the honors that I have now is when I am down in Florida is that I get the opportunity to be able to change my mom, to be able to clean my mom, to be able to bathe my mom, to be able to show her that tenderness and that love and that care, to be able to take her to doctor's appointments. Because even though I'm here and they're there, I still go back for all doctor's appointments and take her to the doctor. So I'm involved in all of that,
That's funny how that's full circle. Like she did that once for you.
Yes.
And now you're doing it for her.
Exactly.
It's an interesting
So that's it.
part of the mother-child journey.
Yeah. I love that you say that you get to do these things. And that's something that's like, you're appreciating the moment.
Yeah. You are loved.
You're not like, oh, I have to do it. You're not, you're not regretting it, and you're not, it's not work. It's like you get to do it because it is a privilege.
Yeah. I feel like that's a resilient mom phrase. I get to. Mm-hmm. I get to take my kids to school. I get to make dinner. Mm-hmm. We're pretty blessed over here where we're at, where we have a lot of conveniences that I think sometimes we do take for granted, or that ability to travel and be with family and do things. Not everybody has that. We all have different trials that we have to face. And it's funny that some people around the world that have nothing are happier than us that have all these things and all these distractions, and their families are very tight, living together with nothing, and they'll give you the shirt off their back, no problem. And we're over here worrying about keeping up with the Joneses and the Instagram moms and things that just don't really serve us.
Mm-mm.
Exactly.
We just need to be authentically who our family needs us to be and show up as, whether that's the child helping the mom or the mom helping the child. It really comes down to family. And mothers are the foundation of society. What's happening at home affects the rest of the nation. And we're struggling with that right now. There's more single mothers now than there has ever been in any time period. And it wasn't really meant to be this way. So we've got mothers that are doing the impossible every day by being everything for their kids, because families just aren't staying together. And I think some of it is this lack of resilience, that understanding relationships that are deep, that are meaningful, or that are the people who've been married for 50, 60, 70 years. They had tough times. And they stuck it out. It's not this generation of cancel culture, or you throw it away, you fix it. You don't throw it away. You don't go find another one. There's not something better over there. You fix it. And two, though, there's a lot with knowing how to get into the right relationship. And if you don't love yourself fully first, you're not going to attract the right relationship. And then sometimes you're going to grow beyond that person, and they're either going to come with you or they're not. And so I think that's the hard part with motherhood, is we all would like to have the ideal situation of mother, father at home that is better for the kids. But as long as the kids have one parent who shows up and is consistent and loving, that child will do pretty darn well. And if we're still seeking that person, maybe we weren't ready for them yet. Maybe they're not ready for us yet. Who knows? But I have found with God, all things are possible, and that He will really help you be whatever version of resilience or resilient mother that you need to be. We've had on this podcast foster moms, we've had adoptive moms, we've had surrogate moms, we've had divorced moms, we've had traditional moms, we've had those that aren't even moms yet or are not going to be moms. But the idea here is that whatever in your life isn't serving you, don't resist letting go of it, so that you can face the storm head on. And you can face whether you have a child with special needs, or you took on a child that's got trauma that needs worked out on, or you have a family situation that's calling you to be the nurturer and now is calling you to be what your mom once was in the family and step into that role. It's all about the journey, and everyone's journey is going to be unique, is going to be different. But it's going to start with that level of awareness that you're willing to change something, that you're willing to be completely honest with yourself and do like a reality check of, is this it? Is this what I really want? Is this how I really want to show up? Or is there something more I can do here?
I love that. I just want to share like one life verse that I have that I feel like would be perfect for resilience, which is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Amen. Yeah, I love that one. That's one of my favorites too. So any last thoughts as we're wrapping up here?
No, thank you so much, Tiffany, for having us on. If is it okay to
where can people find you if they want to work with you?
So we do like our focus on the 3 key areas, which is relationships with your faith, family, and friends, career, and self-care, like figuring out how to love ourselves and treat ourselves right. And we do that through like our podcast, and then also through our website, through planners that Amy, that Mrs. Creative over here, has created. So they can always go to youareloved.store and purchase that one. That one does go through the end of next year. And then we have ones that were coming out. But anyways, yeah, thank you so much. This was such a blessing. We really appreciate it. Love your podcast. And thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Thanks, audience, for listening. That's it for today. I believe in you, believe in yourself. God bless. And we'll see you next time on the Resilient Mother Podcast. Take care. Thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe so we can share this message. We are a worldwide podcast with guests all around the world, and we want to continue to grow this community. You can find us on socials. You could also be a guest. Look for that link below if you'd be interested in being a guest on the podcast. If you know a sponsor or would like to be a sponsor, please reach out to me or Catherine as well.
Sure. We want you all on this journey. We want to hear your stories. We want to share your stories. We want to gain strength from each other because together we're stronger. And to never forget the blessing of being a mother and what we're creating. We're creating the future every single day of our lives. So get on this train with us and let's do this thing, moms.
I believe in you. Believe in yourself. God bless. And we'll see you around. Take care.